If you're a PA who is going to be taking the new PANRE-LA recertification exam, then this video is for you. I'm going to tell you what the most suggested study courses are for the exam, what resources you should have open during the exam, and some tips and advice from people who already took the pilot PANRE-LA. Plus, towards the end of the video, I'm going to let you know what I have gathered in all my research about whether people think you should study for the PANRE-LA at all, whether it's even necessary to do any kind of studying before you sit down and take this open book test. So stay tuned to find out all of the information that I gathered. Full disclosure, I have not taken the pilot PANRE-LA, but I have spent lots of time scouring through social media posts, forums, anywhere I could find where people talked about their experience taking the pilot PANRE-LA, and I'm going to be sharing what I found with you. Now, before we dive into that, I do want to remind you that if you want to take the PANRE-LA and you are due for recertification in 2024, 2025, or 2026, then you have to sign up by this November 30th of this year, so less than a month away. You have to sign up and pay for the exam, which is $350. So don't miss that date if you want to take the PANRE-LA, because if you miss the date, then you have to go take the regular PANRE in your regular certification year. There are a ton of resources that you can use to study, but I'm going to be talking about the ones that I saw mentioned most often. Now, remember, I am not endorsing these products. I have not used them. I am just telling you what I am seeing recommended the most from people who have used them. 3 of the 4 review courses I'm going to highlight are actually run by PAs, which is pretty exciting and pretty cool. And it's nice to know that we're supporting a fellow colleague. The first one I'm going to talk about is CME for Life. This is predominantly a video review-based course that follows the NCCPA blueprint pretty stringently. That was one of the things that they stress, is that they are giving you the meat and potatoes, what you absolutely need to know, and they follow those categories. The blueprint tells you whether you just need to know the diagnosis and, to refer, or if you need to know the diagnosis and the first-line treatment, or if you need to know basically all of the things about the disease process. So they stress that that's what they specialize in. John Belinsky is the PA that runs this program, and he has his own YouTube channel. So you can watch his videos to get an idea of how he teaches and if you like that style and if it's the right choice for you. Now, he has a variety of options that you can choose from the full course down to a study guide and then down to some flashcards. So you do have some price point options. They range, I think, from like $99 to a little over $800 for the full entire package. He does also offer a few limited in-person courses, so you can check that out as well if you like to go and just over a couple of days just get the review course done. This course does qualify for Category 1 CME credit, so that's also another bonus. The second course is by Smarty Pants, PANCE, kind of a cute play on the initial certification exam. Smarty Pants does have review courses specifically for PANRE, and people may be confused if you go look and it says that it's just a PANRE review course. You may be like, well, I need the PANRE-LA review course. But remember, both tests are operating off of the same NCCPA blueprint. So as long as it says PANRE somewhere in it, is going to be the course that you need. Now, the Smarty Pants review course, they have some video lectures and some audio lectures, which are kind of nice because you can listen to those in your car. But this is pretty much a question review based program. You can go to their website and you can see some samples of how they run through stuff. It's not as straightforward as they just ask you a question and give you the answer. They have some other more evolved tools there. They also have like an agreement with like Picmonic and some other things if you're a visual learner and you like to look at cartoons and different drawings. The greatest thing probably about this course is the price point. You don't buy the course outright like you do at CME for Life. You pay for a year membership, which is $79. Pretty great. For $79, you can have access to this course for the whole year. You can continually review questions and go through and use all of the resources that are available on the site. Now, if you don't want like a full year's access, they do give you options for even cheaper access for just 1 month or 3 months. With that cheaper price, there is a downside. This is not eligible for Category 1 CME, but you can claim Category 2 for the amount of studying hours that you put in. The next course is Hippo Education's PANRE Review course. In addition to the video lectures, they do have some practice questions, and they have some written summaries and some slides. The Hippo Education, as far as I can tell, does not have actual PANRE practice exams. The other thing about the Hippo Education is it is also done on a yearly membership, but that membership is $495 a year, so quite a bit more expensive than the Smarty Pants at $75 a year. Now, the Hippo Education course does come with Category 1 CME. The last course I'm going to mention is not really a course, it's a podcast, but it's the Physician Assistant Exam Review podcast. This is a podcast put out by PA Brian Wallace, and he has been doing this podcast for many years. I remember listening to it when I was in PA school preparing to go sit for the PANCE. This is a podcast, so it doesn't cost you anything, and it's something that you can listen to, while you're driving or, walking the dog or whatever. So that's a really nice aspect of it as well. The downside is that it's not like a structured course. He does follow the NCCPA blueprint. Now, each particular podcast covers a different topic. They're usually 20 to 40 minutes long, and he does a really good job of putting the titles on there so you know exactly what that particular podcast covers. So while it's not a structured course, you can go through the titles and look for exactly what you want to study. And finally, several people mentioned just kind of going through review books. There wasn't a whole lot of specific book titles mentioned, but there are several available on Amazon. I'll have the links down below. Now, some people did mention that they found that the First Aid for USMLE Step 2 was a helpful book for reviewing for the exam. But one thing you have to remember about this book is that it is written as a pared down review for taking the Step 2 exam and not the NCCPA PANRE exam. So it's not going to follow the blueprint, and it's not going to pare down the information to just what you need to know for this test. Now let's talk about some of the test-taking tips and strategies that people mention. The first one that I saw mentioned a lot was that they advise you use 2 screens. Have a 2-screen setup, whether it's your phone and a desktop or phone and laptop or tablet and laptop, whatever. Although they did mention that the bigger the screen, the better. But then there were others that are like, God, you're just making it too complicated, guys. All you have to do is open like some extra tabs, and then you can search for, an answer if you need to. But if you have a question open and you're searching for the answer and you accidentally close the exam tab, that question is going to be marked wrong because you had it open and you didn't give, a correct answer. So I'm just going to use 2 tabs to make it simple and easy. Besides that, if you're searching for an answer, you may have forgotten exactly what the question is asking. You can just quickly glance back, see what the question was, and then look for your answers. People did talk too about scheduling tactic. I mean, it's 25 questions and you have a quarter, 3 months to answer those 25 questions. Even if you took the maximum amount of time to answer each question, so 5 minutes per question, that puts you at just a little over 2 hours. So even if you just picked one day and sat down and did all of the questions in one day, you're looking at getting it done in just over 2 hours. But some people said that they like to do a question a day for 25 days. Some people would sit down and do like 5 questions at a time and just do that 5 different days of the quarter. Mainly, I just bring this up to remind you that this test is very flexible and you have complete control over how you want to do the exam every quarter. People also mentioned that if you miss a question, make sure that you really understand and do a little bit of learning and research about that question, because the way the exam is set up and it's made for you to be able to learn is that question will come back around at another time, maybe in a different form, but you will see that again. They also mentioned if you're somebody who's kind of an anxious test taker, or if you're anxious about how fast you'll be able to look up these questions, then do some practice questions. Just find any medical questions somewhere that you come across and have them ready, have a timer, and then read a question, set your timer for 5 minutes, and then go searching and see if you can find the answer. They said that will give you an idea of just how long 5 minutes is and if you are capable and able to find an answer in that time. They said doing that a few times should reassure you that you will be able to verify the answer in the 5 minute time period. Now, what are the best resources to use while you actually are taking the test? Honestly, most people just said that they Googled the answer. The reason for that is that this test is more focused on your common core medical knowledge and not a lot of obscure medical facts. So you should be able to find the answer readily in sources that come up with Google. If you want specific sources, some people said that they did use Medscape. They found that was useful, or like Hippocrates. Now, people talked about UpToDate. Some people used it, but most of the people said it is just far too clunky and there's too much information to be able to get through to really find just the answer you need in the 5 minute block. So you could try it, but most people said it's not even worth it. You can just Google. Now, the one resource that you can't use per NCCPA is like a phone a friend option. You're not allowed to get together with other PAs and take the test together. You are not allowed to call somebody and ask the answer. They probably wouldn't find out, but if they did find out, then you risk some severe penalties and possibly even having your license revoked. So just not worth it. So really the big question is, do you even need to study for the PANRE-LA at all? Is it a test that you have to do a review course for or do a lot of studying for before you start taking it? Let me read you some of the quotes that pretty much sum up what most people have been saying who took the pilot. One said, "I would suggest not studying at all for the PANRE-LA. If you aren't doing well on the first several questions, then close the test and go brush up on the areas that you need to review." Another person said, "The questions are much more straightforward and cover more core knowledge compared to the PANRE." Someone else said, "I was worried too when I did my pilot. I didn't do a course or study ahead of time. I found that I either knew the answers or knew enough to get it narrowed down to two, and then I had time to Google the answer." Somebody else said, "I work in a specialty and I have for the last 16 years, and I did fine on the pilot. Many of the blocks I was able to finish in 15 minutes. I really liked this one. They said, "To those taking the PANRE-LA, relax, enjoy life, don't study. You will be just fine." And finally, someone says, "You don't study for it. It was designed to test your knowledge and identify areas of weakness. It gives you immediate feedback and explanations of right and wrong answers, and it's a great way to recertify. I loved it, and I learned a ton." So the resounding answers from almost everyone that I read that took the pilot PANRE-LA was that no, you do not have to study for this test ahead of time. Of course, I'm not saying whether you should or shouldn't study. That is completely up to you and your learning style and what you feel comfortable with. And studying and reviewing medicine is never wrong. I mean, it's just good for us and it helps reinforce our medical knowledge and helps us in our practice. But if you're the type of person who doesn't want to study, doesn't have the time to study, you'll probably do just fine taking the test and only looking up answers when you need to. If you're one of those PAs who haven't decided whether you're taking the PANRE-LA or the regular PANRE, or if you're watching this and you're like, "I don't even know what the heck the PANRE-LA is," then watch this video here. I talk about the new exam, tell you how it's structured, how it works, and do a pros and cons comparison between the PANRE and the PANRE-LA. I hope this helped. I hope this answered some questions you might have. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you next time on the Medicine Couch. Bye.